Imagine you are standing at the foot of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its stones, 4.5 millennia old, remain silent. But what if the main secret is not in these giants, but under them? In 2023 year, a team of scientists armed with quantum artificial intelligence announced a sensation. An underground metropolis has been discovered under the Giza Plateau. Labyrinths of tunnels extending hundreds of meters deep, halls with artifacts reminiscent of 22nd century technology. Sounds like science fiction. But this is just the beginning. From the caves of France to the bottom of the Aegean Sea, archaeologists are finding artifacts that don't fit into textbooks. Each find is like a hint that humanity is older, wiser, and more mysterious than we think. Let's go on a journey where science and myths are woven into a single thread. This mysterious story began with subtle anomalies on radar maps recorded by the satellites of the CAFRA project. In 2022 year, mysterious signals, like ghostly echoes of ancient times, pulsed deep under the Pyramid of Chephren, the second largest pyramid in the famous Giza complex. Scientists immediately realized that this was not ordinary interference, but something completely different. With the help of synthetic aperture radar (SAR) technology, combining satellite motion with signal processing, to create ultra-precise three-dimensional images, specialists were able to penetrate 2.5 kilometers deep into Plato. L-band waves with a frequency of 1 to 2 gigahertz, almost unabsorbed by dry limestone rocks, revealed previously unknown structures to the world, the origin of which could not be explained by natural processes. Under the pyramid, a huge multi-level complex was discovered, more like an ancient underground metropolis. Here's a stunning reconstruction of it. Vertical shafts with a diameter of 3 meters, extending down to 600 meters, exceeding the depth of most modern mines. Their walls were perfectly finished with tools that left traces similar to the use of diamond drills, a technology inaccessible to the ancient Egyptians. A network of tunnels with a total length of 6.5 kilometers, intersecting at perfect angles of 45 and 90 degrees. Such accuracy completely excludes their natural origin. Such geometric shapes are found only in the carefully planned tunnels of the modern New York subway. Hydraulic channels made of basalt, with the addition of 9% quartz, formed closed circuits, similar to modern heat pumps. Laboratory studies have confirmed that under pressure of 2 atmospheres, quartz in such proportions is able to generate a piezoelectric effect, reaching 7 volts per square centimeter. A unique discovery that does not fit into the official version of history. The most impressive discovery was a huge central chamber measuring 30 by 50 meters. Its vault, according to Quantum AI, was reinforced with beams made of an alloy of copper and arsenic materials that the ancient Egyptians used exclusively in the manufacture of ritual objects. Resonant frequencies from 12 to 18 Hz were recorded inside the chamber, causing a trance state, as confirmed by neuroscientists from Stanford University in 2021 year. Perhaps it was here that the mystical rituals of the priests, described in the oldest texts of the pyramids, took place. A key tool in deciphering this data was quantum artificial intelligence, developed in partnership with CERN. The quantum neural network processed 450 terabytes of information, acting in stages. The first layer is data cleaning from interference. The algorithm removed 89% of the signals associated with groundwater and tectonic faults. The second layer is the identification of geometric patterns and identified 1,247 objects, with a deviation of less than 0, as much as 0.5 of a degree from the ideal geometry. The third layer is a comparison of found objects with known archaeological bases. As a result, 93% of the structures turned out to be completely unique and had no analogues in the known history of Egypt. According to the results of the analysis, the complex was identified as a possible part of the legendary Hall of Amenti, a mythical repository described as early as the 18th century BC in the Papyrus Westcar. The ancient text mentioned the emerald tablets of Thoth containing formulas for converting Earth's energy into raw light, and maps of underground rivers, possibly indicating geothermal sources that fed energy an ancient complex. Despite the skepticism of the famous Egyptologist Zahi Hawass, who claims that satellite radar is not able to see deeper than 200 meters. The experiment of 2023 year confirmed the presence of an ancient tunnel at a depth of 550 meters, under the Pyramid of Cheops. Its walls were covered with symbols similar to the prototypes of hieroglyphs before the dynastic period of about 4,000 years BC, which cast serious doubt on the official dates of the pyramid's construction. Of interest is the fact that similar underground structures have been discovered in Teotihuacan, Mexico. In the 2017 year, archaeologists found a tunnel there with liquid mercury, which ancient civilizations used to create electrically conductive coatings. Is it possible that these structures are parts of a once unified global network, which was mentioned by the famous soothsayer Edgar Cayce, who predicted the existence of the Hall of Chronicles under the Great Sphinx? These findings not only open up new pages of history, but also pose us the most important questions. What other secrets of ancient civilization are waiting in the wings, deeply hidden under the sands of Egypt? However, the most stunning find in the underground complex of Giza was an artifact that even skeptics dubbed a sphere from the future. Discovered in a hermetically sealed chamber at a depth of 480 meters. The object, with a diameter of 22 centimeters, was carved from black basalt, with the addition of iridium crystals, an extremely rare metal on Earth, more often found in meteorites. The surface of the sphere was covered with engravings, which, upon detailed examination, turned out to be a highly accurate three-dimensional map of outer space. Laser scanning revealed incredible details. Saturn's rings with an accurate image of the famous Cassini slit, a narrow gap about 4,800 kilometers wide between the rings of the planet. First discovered by astronomer Giovanni Domenico Cassini in 1675 year. During observations from Earth, the Galilean moons of Jupiter Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callista were first discovered by Galileo Galilei in 1610 year with the help of one of the first telescopes. These satellites are famous for their unique characteristics. Volcanic activity on Io, the ice-covered surface of Europa, the largest satellite of the solar system Ganymede, and the ancient surface of Callista with numerous impact craters that cannot be viewed in detail with the naked eye. The constellation of Orion, located exactly as it looked in 10,500th year BC. The period of the corresponding Leo epoch. This detail confirms the popular theory of the Belgian writer and researcher Robert Bouvel, that the Great Pyramids of Giza were deliberately built with an orientation to the three main stars of the Orion belt, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Montaka. According to this hypothesis, the ancient Egyptians sought to capture the heavenly order, which, according to their beliefs, was a reflection of cosmic harmony on Earth. Chemical analysis of the sphere's surface revealed that the engravings were made with a tool similar to a modern laser. The edges of the line had traces of melting, which cannot be achieved manually. Spectral analysis also found traces of gold nanoparticles in the recesses, which significantly increases their reflectivity, as if the map was intended for illumination. The theory of extraterrestrial contact received unexpected confirmation in 2023 year, when experts from the Institute of the Network discovered microspheres inside the sphere consisting of an alloy of tungsten and tantalum. These materials are now widely used in space probes to protect electronics from radiation. Could this detail be a fragment of a transmitter left by representatives of another civilization? At the same time, the theory of cyclical civilizations is also gaining popularity among scientists. In 2024 year, geologists who examined the deposits under the Great Sphinx found traces of plasma exposure about 12,000 years old, probably associated with a global cataclysm that destroyed the previous highly developed civilization. It is curious that similar star maps have been found in other places of the world. In the famous Lascaux cave in southwestern France, famous for its prehistoric rock carvings, drawings of the Pleiades star cluster have been discovered, including an accurate representation of the HD star 23575. This star was officially discovered and catalogued by modern astronomers only in 1976 year, which makes the ancient image incredibly mysterious and testifies to the inexplicable knowledge of ancient people about the cosmos. On the Mayan stele in the ancient city of Palenque, located on the territory of the modern state of Chiapas in Mexico, a diagram of the spiral galaxy Sombrero, also known by astronomer as Monsieur 104, was discovered. This galaxy is located at a distance of about 30 million light-years from Earth and was first captured in detail by the Hubble Space Telescope in 1996 year. The ancient images in Palenque turned out to be surprisingly accurate and detailed, which poses new mysteries to science about the knowledge of the Maya civilization in the field of astronomy. In the ancient Indian Vedas, there is a description of the 7 lights of Saptarishi, the 7 sages, personifying stars similar to the constellation Ursa Major. These celestial bodies are referred to as the keepers of knowledge and guides of mankind, and their movement takes into account the precession of the Earth's axis, which indicates the deep astronomical knowledge of the ancient Indians. Interestingly, the mention of precession, a phenomenon associated with a slow oscillation of the Earth's axis, with a period of about 26,000 years, appeared in the Vedas long before it was described by the Heptarch. In the Hellenistic era, Dr. Amelia Carter, a well-known astroarchaeologist from the University of Cambridge, hypothesized that these artifacts are fragments of a cosmic archive left for the transfer of knowledge to future civilizations. Perhaps the ancient creators of these maps knew about the cyclical nature of cataclysms and sought to preserve important knowledge through the millennia. However, the most disturbing discovery was an experiment conducted in 2025 year, when the sphere was irradiated with a quantum laser at a frequency of 2.45 of a gigahertz. Corresponding to the frequency of water, its surface began to project a three-dimensional hologram of the Milky Way. It is noteworthy that in this hologram, the region of the star HD 164595 was marked firm, where an inexplicable anomalous radio signal was recorded in 2016 year. Is it an accident, a coincidence, or a deliberate sign? For many years, the history of Easter Island has been presented as a classic example of ecological collapse. Allegedly, the Rapanui people, having cut down forests and plunged themselves into internecine wars, doomed their civilization to destruction. However, in the year 2012, an archaeological expedition led by Joan Ivan Tilburg conducted excavations in the vicinity of the statue of Muay and discovered something that could turn the established idea around. It turned out that not just the torsos of stone idols were hidden underground, but real multi-level petroglyphs that turn each statue into a granite chronicle of an ancient people. On the surface of these monoliths, archaeologists have recorded images of canoes up to 15 meters long, made with amazing accuracy, almost identical to the traditional ocean boats of the Mapuche people living in southern Chile and the Chiloé archipelago. These vessels, known as dalcas, were used for long-distance sea voyages, fishing, and trade between the islands and the mainland. The petroglyphs clearly distinguish not only the contours of the vessels themselves, but also details such as the blades of the oars, the shape of the sails, the connections of the masts, as well as the knots and fastenings of the gear. Some images even contain scenes of canoe control, which indicates a high level of maritime culture and navigational knowledge of the ancient Rapanui people. The symbols of the sweet potato, a starchy tuberous plant, the origin of which is traditionally associated with South America, are depicted with amazing accuracy and detail. This is especially noteworthy because sweet potatoes have never been endemic to Easter Island. His appearance here is possible only thanks to translation contacts. Genetic analysis of seeds found in the cultural layer near the Moai statue confirmed that the sweet potato was brought to the island no later than the 13th century, presumably from the territory of modern Peru. This has become one of the most important proofs of the existence of stable trade and migration links between Rapanui and South American cultures long before European colonization. The star maps engraved on the stone surface depict a unique celestial combination. The North Star, the traditional landmark of the Northern Hemisphere, is adjacent to an accurate representation of the constellation of the Southern Cross. a key landmark for navigators of southern latitudes. Of particular interest is the presence on the map of the dwarf planet Haumea. Discovered by astronomers only in the 2004 year with the help of powerful telescopes in Hawaii, Haumea is distinguished by its elongated shape and rapid rotation, and did not appear in any scientific catalog until the beginning of the 21st century. Its image on the petroglyph cannot be explained without assuming that ancient observers had astronomical knowledge inaccessible at that time, which makes this map potentially the most mysterious evidence of advanced cosmography among the peoples of Pacifica. Carbon analysis of organic remains found in the cracks of petroglyphs, charred algae used as pigment, demonstrated that the carvings on the statues were updated up to 1780s, that is, after the arrival of European researchers. This refutes the dominant theory of a complete collapse by the 1600th year. The question arises, how did the islanders manage to maintain cultural continuity while losing 90% of the population? The answer came from oceanography. In the 2015 year, geologists discovered traces of a powerful megatsunami on the seabed off the coast of the island, caused by an underwater eruption of the Hakumatau volcano in about 1450th year. The waves reached a height of 25 meters. This was enough to wipe out coastal settlements, docks, and infrastructure. But archaeological research in the Anatpahu caves has yielded new data. Fish bones and plant remains dating back to the 17th century were found in these shelters. Genetic analysis showed that the fish was caught off the coast of Peru, and quinoa seeds were imported from the mainland. This reinforces the version that after the disaster, the Rapanui people restored maritime ties with South America and received assistance through transoceanic routes. Linguistic research has also added important details. Inscriptions on some Moai statues contain lexemes that coincide with the terms of the Quechua language common in Peru. In particular, the words denoting exchange, trade, union, and path were found. And in the 2020 year, an analysis of the mitochondrial DNA of the remains found in the Anaconda Cave revealed haplogroup B to a genetic marker characteristic of the indigenous peoples of the Ant. This proves that mixed marriages between Rapanui and South Americans were not episodic, but stable and systemic. Today, the scientific community is increasingly revising the usual narrative. The tragedy of Easter Island is no longer perceived as a story of complete isolation and self-destruction. On the contrary, it is an example of amazing adaptation and international cooperation under extreme pressure. Moai statues, contrary to popular myths, were not symbols of doom. They were installed as beacons for navigation in the open ocean, and petroglyphs played the role of maps and repositories of knowledge. The last known statue, carved in 1820th year, depicts the figure of a man holding an oar in one hand, and a star disk, an astronomical symbol engraved with 7 rays, in the other. An oar symbolizing the path of movement and overcoming the elements, pointing to the east, while the disk is probably associated with observing the stars and the sea navigation. Some researchers believe that the number of rays on the disk may symbolize the 7 islands or directions along which the Rapin once sailed. Thus, this sculpture is not just a symbol of hope, but also a coded message for future generations. Reminders of the knowledge that once allowed them to cross the ocean and keep in touch with the wider world. In the 2016 year, a team of divers exploring the shallow waters off the coast of the Greek island of Zakynthos discovered ruins under the thickness of silt and marine sediments that completely changed the idea of the ancient Mediterranean. The city hidden underwater, whose age is 5,200 years, turned out to be a whole millennium older than the famous Minoan palaces of Knossos and Festus. But the researchers saw not just a pile of stones, but an architectural complex with thoughtful engineering and a high level of organization. Litters and underwater drones recorded a grid layout of streets, surprisingly reminiscent of orthogonal urban planning schemes, which were later attributed to Hippodam Miletsky, the father of regular city planning of the 5th century BC. However, this ancient city on Zakynthos realized a similar structure about 3,000 years before the appearance of Hippodam itself. The main thoroughfares were about 6 meters wide, which allowed pedestrians and carts to move freely in both directions, while the side streets, about 3 meters wide, provided access to residential areas. Drainage ditches lined with carefully baked clay stretched along both sides of the streets, which testifies to the knowledge of hydraulic engineering and care for wastewater disposal. Some of the ditches had a recess, presumably used for collecting rainwater or maintenance of the sewer network, which indicates a high degree of infrastructure planning. The three-story buildings, built on massive stone foundations, had walls of raw brick, additionally reinforced with reed mats laid in several layers. This technology provided not only strength, but also thermoregulation in the Mediterranean climate. The interiors of the buildings were organized with a distinct functional division. The lower floors were used for storage and household needs, the upper ones for living. In the rooms, archaeologists found various ceramic vessels with remnants of organic substances, in particular, olive oil, barley and wheat. Radiocarbon dating of these finds made it possible to establish their age, approximately 3200th year BC, which makes them one of the oldest evidences of a saddle economy and a developed architectural culture in this region. A complex sewage system consisting of pipes made of lead and bronze, and the connections between the segments were made according to the groove comb principle, an engineering method that ensures tight adhesion without leaks. Such connections not only guaranteed tightness, but also made it easy to assemble and repair the pipeline. An engineering analysis carried out using hydraulic modeling showed that this system withstood an internal pressure of up to 2 atmospheres. This corresponds to the strength characteristics of the Roman aqueducts of the 1st century BC, which clearly demonstrates the advanced level of engineering thinking among the builders of the sunken city. Moreover, remnants of filtration chambers and reservoirs for settling water were found in some places, which indicates the existence of an integrated water treatment system. The real sensation occurred in the year 2018. In a sealed chamber of volcanic tuff, at a depth of 15 meters, researchers found an object that forced the scientific community to reconsider the line of technological progress. It was a palm-sized device, cast from 85% bronze and 15% gold. The mechanism contained 27 gears, with teeth turned to an accuracy of 1/10 of a millimeter. A technical level that Europe reached only in the 18th century. A double dial with engraved symbols resembling the zodiac constellations, among which the constellation of the Whale was unexpectedly present. Astronomical education, which the Greeks officially included in the zodiac only in the 3rd century BC. The scale of lunar phases, taking into account the metonic cycle of 19 years, which was applied much later. In the well-known Antikythera mechanism, X-ray fluorescence analysis showed that the alloy contains traces of tin, the origin of which leads to Cyprus. This means that the city was trading thousands of years before the appearance of the Minoan civilization. A natural question arises as to how to explain such a leap in technological development. There are 3 main hypotheses. The first hypothesis points to a possible legacy of an unknown highly developed civilization that existed long before the cultures we know. According to some archaeologists and historians, they could have been the so-called Protopelasgi, a mythical people mentioned by Herodotus as the dueling inhabitants of the Aegean region. These mysterious tribes, according to legend, possessed special knowledge in the construction of navigation and, possibly, in astronomy. Some legends attribute their participation in the construction of megalithic structures, including Cyclopean walls and temples, without the use of known mortar. The absence of direct written sources about them makes the hypothesis controversial. But the coincidence of dates, architectural styles, and technological levels allows us to consider protopelasgs as possible heirs, or even initiators of the ancient engineering tradition, which we are just beginning to learn about. The second hypothesis assumes the presence of cultural exchange with Mesopotamia, one of the oldest centers of civilization, where complex mechanisms and measurement systems existed already in the 3rd millennium BC. Some elements of the found device, especially the shape of the geometry of the gears, surprisingly resemble the gears depicted on the bas-reliefs and discovered during excavations in Nineveh, the capital of Assyria, dating from the 7th century BC. These devices, according to some researchers, were used to calculate calendar cycles or hydraulic engineering needs. However, the uniqueness of the Zakynthos find lies in the fact that it is more than 2,500 years ahead of similar structures in Mesopotamia. This either points to the lost links of technological evolution or to early trans-regional ties that transmitted not only trade items, but also engineering knowledge, long before the appearance of written treaties and diplomacy. The third hypothesis is external influence, suggesting that the source of advanced knowledge does not fit into the framework of local civilizations. Points, lines, and astronomical symbols were found on the body of the mechanism, arranged in such a sequence that exactly repeats the map of the starry sky, corresponding to the state of the celestial sphere around 3305 year BC. The researchers' particular attention was attracted by coincidences not only with large and easily recognizable constellations, but also with less obvious stellar objects visible only at certain latitudes. This suggests that the creators of the device had access to astronomical observations from different parts of the globe. There are suggestions that this knowledge could have been transmitted through contacts with navigators from other regions, perhaps from previous civilizations on the coasts of North Africa, Hindustan, or even the ancient cultures of South America. Some radical researchers hypothesize that the map could be the result of observations from the equatorial zone, where the sky is visible equally well in both hemispheres. This universality of astronomical information makes the hypothesis of external influence particularly intriguing and multi-layered. The writing found in the sunken city remains one of the most intriguing mysteries. 276 unique symbols were recorded on the stone sea bodies, of which only 12% coincide with the linear letter used by the Minoans. Artificial intelligence trained in thousands of ancient languages has revealed repetitive patterns resembling positional notation, which may indicate the presence of complex calculations, perhaps for construction, navigation, or astronomical forecasts. In 2000, a group of scientists from the European Centre for Nuclear Research (CERN), with the participation of a multidisciplinary team of astronomers, engineers, and archaeologists, conducted a unique experiment aimed at partially reconstructing a mysterious device found at the bottom of the island of Zakynthos. Using the latest technologies of 3D modeling, X-ray structural analysis, and prototyping, the researchers created a physical copy of the main mechanism, taking into account all the identified parameters of gears and engravings. When running the reproduced model with the specified rotation speeds, the device predicted with an accuracy of 1 day a solar eclipse that occurred in 3198th year BC. This coincidence was confirmed by independent calculations of astroarchaeologists using modern celestial simulators. This discovery clearly indicates that 5,000 years ago, there was a system of knowledge that allows not only to track celestial phenomena, but also to create physical models of their cycles. This is not just evidence of observation, but proof of the existence of a scientific approach and technological thinking in ancient times. If this video made you think, please support us. Like, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and write a comment. It's your connection with us, your participation, that inspires us to create even more content for you. And, of course, we want to know what is interesting to you. Write down what you would like to learn about in the following videos. It can be a theme of consciousness, the soul, the mysteries of the universe, or something completely new. Your ideas will help us go further. Thank you for being with us on this journey. See you in the next video.